Done, sir.
Good evening, Anaida. Good evening, Tamogna. Am I audible? All right. Yes. What happened last week? You guys didn't join? Yes. You had any session? Had an exam. Okay. Which exam, by the way? Marketing management. Okay. Marketing management. Who's the trainer? Ashish, sir. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just quickly recall everything that we covered in our previous session. Yeah. So do you all remember or you forgot already? Yeah. Tell me. Let's recall. So what did we cover? We started with variables, right? Yes. Guys, I'll switch off my camera. Okay, there's a lot of windows on my screen. Yeah. So we started with variables, right? What else? We covered data types. Yes or no? Do you all remember? Yes, under data types, we saw what all data types we saw? Int, string, yes. Then Boolean. What else? Then we also saw some advanced data types, right? List, tuples, and dictionary. I also asked you to do something on your own. Topics like operators. Yes. So have you been through operators? My screen is visible, right? I hope it's visible. Okay. So yeah, have you been through operators? Tamogna is saying yes. What about others? Satya, Anaida. Okay, so can you tell me what all operators do we have? What all operators do we have? Yes, the first one. Addition. Okay. No, I'm asking you what are the different types of operators? So addition comes under arithmetic. Yes, right. Satya, you're right. Yeah. Then logical operators, correct? Assignment, good. Boolean. What are the types of Boolean operators? I mean, what operators do we have under Boolean operator? True, false. So they are data types. They are data types. I don't think we have separate Boolean operators. Bitwise, right? So this and or comes under logical operators. Then you have relational operators also. Yes, relational operators. So you have less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, equal to, equal to. This equal to use for just check if a value is equal to some other value or not, right? And then you have not equal to. Yes. So see, the use of these operators, all these operators, we'll mostly be using them in conditions, which we intend to cover today. Conditions, loops, and functions. If time permits, I'll try to finish functions also, but conditions and loops we'll cover it today itself. Yeah. Right, Satya. These are comparison operators. They're also called as relational operators. You can also call them comparison operators. They're also called as relational operators. That's right. Okay. So yeah, let me just open a notebook. I request you all to open one in your system as well. So today is Basics of Python session 2. So let's just create Basics of Python session 2. Basics of Python session 2. Okay. So let's start with, before getting into conditional statement, let me talk about something known as Python flow control. Let me write it here instead in the notebook itself. Python flow control. So what is Python flow control? If you remember, in my previous session, I told you that any program has a basic structure to it. Okay. So, and that structure comprises of your data types, or let's call it variables. Then you have conditional statements. Yes. And then we have loops. And finally, we have something called as function calls. Okay. So this program, any program has this sort of flow. Okay. Now, what is meant by flow? A flow is nothing but a program a Python program flow is basically, it is the order in which the program code executes. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to start with, whenever you try to execute your code, not just in Python, any programming language for that matter. So you begin with declaring some variables. Okay. Then you will write conditional statements. You will write loops. Sometimes you even interchange them. You might write conditional statement inside a loop, or a loop inside conditional statement, or loop inside loop, or conditional statements inside conditional statements. And finally, you have function calls. Okay. So based on different programs, you will make use of all these components. But a program will have all these components. Getting it? So we'll talk about this whenever we practice some programs. You will get to see that any program that will be seeing will have all, will use all these components in it. All right. So let's first begin with the conditional statements. Okay. So what are conditional statements? Conditional statements basically, imagine that sometimes you want to execute a certain part of code when, depending upon a certain condition is being met or not. So whenever, let's say, if you want to give a direction to someone, let's say I'm new to your city, I'm new to Mumbai, and if I ask you, and let's say we are in NMIMS, the Mitibai College area, and if I ask you how should I reach CST, what would be your answer? You will say that go straight from a chalk, take a right, you will see a railway station, right? Yes or no? If you reach railway station, uh, you will be on the western line, then you will reach, you'll have to get a ticket. When you get a ticket, board a train towards CST. Yes or no? So what basically you're trying to tell the person is that the kind of instruction that you're giving is in terms of conditions, right? So whenever you reach X point, you have to do something, and after you do something, you have to do another task, right? So you are giving conditional statements here, yes or no? So similarly, whenever you are giving any, whenever you want to give any instruction to a computer to execute certain program or certain instructions, you might come across a situation where you want to tell your system that, okay, you will have to run a particular part of code only when a certain condition is met, right? So there can be a situation where you will have to deal with conditions in your program. So in order to deal with those kind of situations, conditional statements are used. So what are the different type of conditional statements in Python? You have the if statement, then you have the if else statement, and then you have if else statement. Okay, let me just write it in this. Okay, so these are the different types of conditional statements that are used in Python. Let's start with the if statement. Okay, so what is an if statement? So whenever, let's say, you want to execute a certain block of code, only if and only if a certain condition is true. You don't care about the condition being false. You just care if the condition is true. That's it. You are not taking care of the condition being false. Okay, so what is the syntax? Let me just first give you the syntax. Syntax is basically nothing but the grammar of it. How should you write? How should you use the if statement? So syntax is, you will use the keyword if followed by condition. You should always give a colon, okay, after the condition, and then when you hit enter, you should give an indentation by default. Okay, that indentation tells you whatever the code line that you write is the part of, or it's to be only be executed when this condition is true. Okay, so and so on. Okay, this is how you should write a if block inside your code. Okay, this is the syntax. Let's just understand this with an example. So one of the very basic example that is being taken in Python or in any programming language is to check if a number that is entered by the user is positive. Okay, I'll write the statement down. Check if the number is positive. Okay, please pay attention to this line. What am I doing? I am just what is the instruction? The instruction is to check if a number is positive. That's it. So let's just create a variable num, and we'll take a input. this input function is basically used to take input from the user, okay, in real time, in runtime actually. So I'll say enter a number, okay, and I will write this inside int. Now, there is a reason why I'm doing this. Let me explain this to you as well. Have we discussed input in our previous session? Did we discuss input? No, right? Okay. So this input function is basically, so if I run this, if you see here, see the program is running. This star means the program is getting executed. It is not completed yet. Okay. Now, whenever I write this input function is basically, it displays the message that we write inside this input function to the console, and it gives a space where it is expecting a input from us users in runtime. So see, the program is running, the code is running, and it is expecting a value to be entered by the user. Okay, now I'm entering 3 here and I'll hit enter. Okay, if you see, the code execution stops. Now if I check the value of this variable num, it comes out to be 3. Now the problem is, why am I writing int here? If I don't write int, and if I just run this, let me first show you the type of num. What is the type of num? Int. Obviously, because we wrote int here, right? When we executed this, it was int here. But if I don't write int here, what happens? If I run this again, and let's just say I'm writing 3 again. Okay. This time, if you check, what kind of value is this? Can anyone tell me? Is it numeric? It is string, right? So this means that this input function by default, okay, by default takes whatever a user types as string. So in order to convert that, we will write it like this. We will write this entire input function inside this int function, so that whenever a numeric value is entered, it is converted into int and not str. Understood, everyone? Why am I writing int here? Okay, now let's just focus on the task. So what was the task? It is to check if a number is positive. That's it. Yeah, so this is Tabuna is correct. This is called as typecasting. Okay, let me write a comment here. Okay, this is called as typecasting. We are converting str type to type int. Correct. Now let's just come to the program that we are supposed to write. What is the program? To check if a number is positive. That's it. So as per the syntax, so I'll have to use the if condition like this. So I'll say if condition. Now what is the condition one needs to write to check if a number is positive? Yes, think. What is the condition for a number to be positive? It should be greater than 0, right? Yes or no? So I will simply say num greater than 0. Yes, so I've wrote the condition. I've written down the condition here. What am I supposed to do next? I'm supposed to give a colon here. And when you hit enter, you see an indentation. There's an indentation that comes here. Yes, automatically. You don't have to give it manually. A lot of time, what students do is they will hit enter and go back and give randomly 3 to 4 spaces. Okay, that is not allowed. If you hit enter, it automatically gets inside, I mean gets the indentation gets added basically. Okay, so if this condition is met, what am I supposed to write? I'm supposed to say that the number is positive. Yes or no? and let's just print something here. This is printed anyways. Okay, so if I run this, if I enter 3, what would be the output? So whenever, let's just dry run this code. So what happens is num is 3. This is line number 1. On second line, you come across this condition. If, I mean this conditional statement basically. So if 3 is greater than 0, right? You check here. Is 3 greater than 0? Yes, absolutely. So what would be the output of this? The output would be true. Okay. So whenever the output of the condition is true, the execution will get inside whatever is written for this if statement. So if you notice, this print statement here is the only line of code that is being written inside this if, right? So whenever this is true, it will come across this print function, which says the number is positive, right? So that's the reason why you have this, the number is positive printed. Now, do we have any more lines after this print statement? No, there was only one line. So execution comes out of this if block. It goes to the next line. What is the next line? Which is this print function, which says this is always printed, right? This is always printed and so on, right? So that's the reason why you have this is always printed in the output. Now, let me enter some other value. Okay, instead of 3, let's just say minus 10. Okay, so this time the number is not 3, it's minus 10, right? So is minus 10 greater than 0? If I write minus 10 here, is minus 10 greater than 0? No, right? So this becomes false. The execution won't get inside and it will directly jump to this line, which is print. This is always printed. So if you take a look at the output, you don't have the number is positive. Do you have number is positive in the output? No. Right? Getting it? Understood this if statement? How is this if statement working? How is this program working? Now, see, the task was to check if a number is positive. That's it. If I rechange, if I rewrite this statement and just add these two words here, check if the number is positive or not. Is if condition capable of managing or capable of taking care of the not part? This part, is this if statement capable of taking care of this or not part? No, right? So here we will use something called as the if else statement. Okay, so let me just write it down. If else statement. Let's just convert it into a markdown. Okay, so what is the syntax of an if else statement? So syntax goes like this. So you will write the if keyword, yes, followed by condition, yes, then colon, code line 1, code line 2, and so on. So this is what a typical if statement is, right? Now comes the else part. Else part. Here, this else, what does else? We are not supposed to write any condition because this else part only takes care of this condition being false. Okay, that's it. So we are not supposed to write any condition when it comes to else. Okay, we'll get inside. Again, an indentation is necessary. So code line 1, code line 2, and so on. Okay, of course, this code block would be different than this code block. Getting it? So Satya is asking, sir, else does not take automatic. Yes, yes, it does. It does. So see, the reason behind the reason behind giving a indentation is because we have converted into a raw NB convert. If this was a code, it would have taken the indentation automatically. I'm converting into a raw NB convert, raw notebook. Yeah. So you will see it here. So this would be our code block. So what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to check if a number is positive or not. So let me just copy this part and paste it here. And I'll say else print the number is not positive. Okay. It could be anything. It could be negative. It could be 0. Okay. Now, let me run this. Here, let's just enter 3. For 3, it says, so let me explain you how this works. So the first, you are entering num as 3. So 3 gets assigned to this variable num. The execution goes to the next line, which is this if statement. So this if 3 greater than 0, is 3 greater than 0? Yes, true. Right? Therefore, the execution gets inside this if part. Right? So what is the code that we come across in the if block? It says print the number is positive. That's the reason you have this line here printed. Okay. Now, since this condition was true, the execution will never go to these two lines. Basically, the else part, it won't go to the else part. So this line number, you see this line 4 and 5, they are not getting executed. That's the reason why you don't have anything printed here apart from the number is positive. Getting it? Understood, everyone? Now, let's just change the value. Instead of writing 3, let's just write -3 this time. So what happens? This time, the num is -3. Execution goes to the next line. -3, is -3 greater than 0? No, false. So the execution won't get to this line. The execution goes to the else part, right? What comes under else part? This is the line of code, which is print the number is not positive. That's the reason why you have this getting printed in the output. Okay. Now, if you notice, this if else block is only taking care of the number being positive or not. That's it. What if you want to check multiple conditions? Okay, let me just rewrite this statement: positive, negative, or 0. Positive, negative, or 0. Or let's just say positive or negative or 0. We want to check if a number falls in either of these 3 categories. right? So is if else statement capable of doing this part? Yes, because here here the if else statement is only capable of taking care of one condition. We are supposed to write multiple conditions here, right? So here comes the if else statement to the rescue. Okay, so what is the syntax? Let's just quickly write the syntax here. So syntax is if condition 1 colon indentation, then code line 1, code line 2, and so on. Then comes the else part. No, not else part. You will have the elif part. Okay, and here you will write condition number 2. Okay, again the same thing, indentation, and you will write your code lines. And so on. And finally, I mean, you can keep writing more conditions, but you will have to make sure that you use the keyword elif. Okay, condition 3 colon code line 1, code line 2, and so on. And finally, if all these conditions are false, if all these conditions are false, then the else part will get executed. And we are not writing any condition. Please note, we are not writing any condition when it comes to the else part. Okay, so this is your syntax. Understood? So let's just try to use this in our problem statement. The problem statement is to check if a number is positive or negative or 0. Okay, so I'll reuse this code, just copy it. Yes, now after this if part, let's just begin with checking the number if the number is equal to 0 or not. If this is true, we will say the number is 0. Okay, now we want to check if a number is positive or negative. So I'll write elif. Let me just give a space here just for you guys to understand. It's not necessary to give a space, just to understand, make you understand the structure. I'm giving out a space here. Okay, so write another condition, condition number 2, which is num greater than 0. If num greater than 0, I'll say print the number is positive. And finally, am I supposed to write, I'm asking you this question, am I supposed to write elif num less than equal to 0? Print the number is negative. Should I write this specifically? So it's understood, right? If a number is not equal to 0 and not greater than 0, that means the number is negative. So you just don't have to write the condition. So it's understood. Yes or no? So I will simply write else here. So this means that whenever these conditions are not met, of course, right? Whenever if a number is not equal to 0 and not greater than 0, that means the number is negative. So I don't have to write a specific condition over here. Okay, so let's just run this. Let's just enter minus 3. So what happens when I write num is equals to minus 3? Execution goes to second line. It checks if minus 3 is equal to 0. No, right? The output of this condition is false. So the execution won't get inside. It goes to the next line. It checks if minus 3 is greater than 0. Again, this condition is false. Execution won't get inside. Then execution goes to the final block. Since all these conditions are false, only this part will get executed, right? So that's the reason why you have the number is output, the number is negative in the output. Understood? Understood, everyone? Any doubts? Yes? Any doubts in understanding these conditional statements? Let me know if you have questions. We are good to go. We'll take more examples on this. This is just to give you basic example, just to make you understand the syntaxes, just making you acquainted with how to use the syntaxes with a simple problem. We'll take more complex problems, don't worry. All right, next we'll go to loops. Okay. And by the way, you can write more conditions inside these conditions. Okay, then it is called as nested conditions. Nested conditional statements. Okay, nested conditional statements basically means conditional statements inside conditional statements. Okay. We will take a look at this as well, don't worry. Let's just now focus on loops. Okay, so there are two types of loops. The first is, loops are of two types. The first is the while loop, and second is the for loop. Okay, let's take a look at them one by one. Let's begin with the while loop. The while loop. All right. So first of all, why do we use loops? Let's discuss that. Why do we use loops? Any idea? Yes. So what are loops basically? Loops are basically they are recognizing to iterate. Yes, you're right. So what is meant by to iterate? Basically, what happens is whenever you come across, let's say, let me give an example over here. Let's say you want to perform counting, or you want to print numbers from 1 to 100. Okay, if I ask you to print numbers from 1 to 100, so far whatever knowledge we have, forget about loops, from whatever knowledge we have about if else conditions and all those things, this is what we will be writing, right? Print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, and so on. Yes or no? Now tell me, is if I ask you to just, let's say, print 100 numbers from 1 to 100, is it feasible, first of all, to keep writing this manually one by one, one by one, one by one? No, right? So same thing you might come across whenever you are programming, or whenever you are writing code, you might want to use a certain line of code again and again, depending upon the condition. So here I want to use this print 100 times. So does that mean I'll have to write this print statement 100 times? No. So I'll simply put that inside a loop, and I will ask the loop to iterate this print statement 100 times. That seems logically feasible, right? Logically, as well as I mean, you don't have to write 100 lines of code. You just have to write this loop ka syntax, and inside that loop you have to write this print statement once. That's it. Now you might wonder, okay, we are writing this print one time. What about these numbers? Yes, we have to take care of that part also, right? So the loops, the while loop or for loop, they have a different structure, basically both of them. They will take care of changing these numbers. Okay, so let's understand this very basic example through a while loop. Okay, first of all, let me give you a syntax here. Syntax goes like this. So you will write the keyword while followed by condition. Again, you have to give a semicolon here, colon here, and get inside this. I mean, whatever code line that you are writing should be inside this while. That means you should give an indentation over here. So code line 2, and whatever line of code that you want to execute, you are supposed to write it here. So whenever this condition is true, all these lines of code, their execution will keep repeating those many number of times depending upon this condition. Okay, but why? I mean, even if you take a look at the for loop will do the same thing. But what is the difference between for loop and while loop? The major difference here is this looping, as far as this while loop is concerned, this iteration will continue till a time this condition is true. Till the time this condition is true. The moment this condition becomes false, the execution will stop. I mean, the execution of these line of code will stop. Okay. Now let's just understand with this example. Basically, I want to print. Let me just write a problem statement over here. So if I say print numbers from 1 to 100. Okay. So what is the usual way to print numbers from 1 to 100 without using loop? So you'll say print 1, 2, 3, just like this, right? Now let's just see how to use a while loop here. So I'll use the keyword while. Okay, while. Before using this while, let me declare a variable. I'll say iterator. Okay, I'm using this variable called iterator. Okay, and I'm starting it from 1. Let's say 0. Okay, I'm not writing a condition. Okay, now, so I have this variable iterator, which I am declaring it to 0. Okay, the value of iterator in the beginning would be 0. Okay, or since I'm supposed to print it from 1, let me declare it 1 itself. Okay, I'm using an iterator over here, the same thing, but it will only print once. If I don't write this while, and if I just write it like this, it will only print once. But I want to use a while statement here. So that means I want this part inside this while. What should be the condition? So the condition I'm going to use is, I'll say iterator less than or equal to 100. See guys, I'm making use of operators. Okay, if you see, if you notice here, what type of operator this is? Yes, anyone? What type of operator this is? Yes, Satya is saying it's a comparison operator. What about the others? Okay, now, so if you notice, let me run this, okay? Let me run this. What is happening? Can anyone tell me what is happening here? If you see, the program is executing, it's executing continuously, and it is printing this number 1. It keeps printing. If you see, this goes up, right? That means this 1 is getting printed. This 1 is getting printed n number of times. So this will continue till infinity, okay? So what am I supposed to do? Let's just stop this program. I'm interrupting the kernel. So yeah. So we have interrupted the kernel. That's why you have this keyboard interrupt error over here. So what is happening here? See, when you write iterator is equals to 1, when you write iterator is equals to 1, and if you see iterator less than is equals to 100, print iterator. I mean, when you write a line like this, it will only print 1. Yes or no? And this 1 is always less than or equal to 100. Yes or no? Am I taking care of increasing the iterator, increasing this number 1? No, right? So what I'll do is I'll say iterator is equal to iterator plus 1. Makes sense? So every time this is printed, every time the value of iterator is printed, it is the code block, this while block will also increment its number by 1, right? Yes or no? So if I print this now, if you see, you have numbers from 1 to 100 getting printed without the loop getting into an infinite loop issue. So what is happening over here? Let me just explain it to you. So iterator का पहला value is 1, initial value is 1. Yes, ये 1 इसको assign हो गया, then the execution goes to the next second line. What is the second line? While 1 less than equal to 100. So this condition is true. Initially, execution gets inside. Yes, it comes across the print statement. Yes, it prints 1. Right? Next, what happens? It goes to the next line of code, which is iterator is equals to iterator plus 1, which is basically iterator ka at this point, what was the value? 1 plus 1. What is the addition of these two numbers? 2. So iterator ka value now becomes 2, which initially was 1. Now it's 2. Okay, do we have any more lines? Do we have any more lines? No, right? So execution will go back here again. So what is the condition? Iterator less than equal to 100. What is the value of iterator at this point? 2, right? Yes or no? Is 2 less than equal to 100? Yes, absolutely true. The execution gets inside, comes across this print statement, prints the value of iterator. Yes. We have the next line of code, which is iterator is equals to iterator plus 1, which is nothing but 2 plus 1, which is 3. So iterator ka value now becomes 3. Taking this value, execution goes here. It checks if 3 is less than equal to 100. Yes. Execution again comes inside, prints the value of 3, goes to the next line. 3 mein 1 is added. Iterator ka value becomes 4. Value is taken again, goes back to the while condition. It checks the condition now, which is 4. Is 4 less than equal to 100? Yes, 4 is printed. So likewise, you have all these numbers getting printed. Now, finally, let's consider 100 is printed. Okay. Let me just erase this unwanted part. Okay. So at this point, iterator is equals to 100, right? देखो यहाँ पे 100 हुआ था iterator, इसीलिए 100 print हुआ है यहाँ पे. Then execution will go to the next line. So iterator becomes 100 plus 1, right? So iterator ka now the value is 101. Taking this value, the execution goes back to the while loop. Now it checks if 101 is less than or equal to 100 or not. So 101 is not less than or equal to 100. So this becomes false. And therefore the execution stops. I mean, this looping stops. This looping stops. Now, do we have any more lines after this loop? No. So the program stops ultimately. And this is the output that you have from numbers from 1 to 100. Getting it, everyone? So always make sure whenever you are writing a while loop, you should always take care of this condition. Okay. You should always take care of this condition, and that is taken care by writing something here inside your while loop. Okay. You have to increment this value, increment or decrement the value, right? So I'm taking care of this condition by writing something here. So always remember, whenever you are writing a while loop, you have to take care of this iterator, this condition. If the condition is kept like this and you are not doing anything about it, then what happens? The loop will keep continue executing infinite number of times. Understood? Yes. All right. Now let's see the for loop. Okay. The for loop. Now, unlike while loop, what happens is here we are giving condition, but we don't do that with for loops. What we do instead is we will make the iterator go through a sequence. Okay. This for loop always goes through a sequence. Okay. Is iterator going through a sequence? No, iterator is going through this condition being true or false. But when it comes to loop, for loop, a for loop iterates through a sequence. Okay, we will give this sequence in the for loop itself. Okay, so let me just give you the syntax and explain this to you with an example. So the syntax is like this. So we will write the keyword for, we will use a variable called I, and we will simply use a membership operator in, and we will give a sequence. Now, sequence doesn't has to be a sequence keyword like this. It is not a keyword, mind you. It can be a list, it can be a tuple, it can be a string. Okay, let me just write it here. Sequence can be a list, tuple, dictionary, yeah, string, data frame, etc. Okay, followed by your code line 1, code line 2. I mean, whatever the line of code that you want to execute again and again. So this is the syntax. Okay, and here, just like we are writing something for the condition, we don't do that with for loop. Okay, like I said, the for loop is only capable of going through a list or going through a sequence. That's it. Okay, it will execute till the time the sequence is over. Okay, so let's just see how we solve the same problem, with the for loop. Okay, so I'll say for I in, I'm supposed to give a sequence, right? Now what I'll do is, there is this function called range. Okay, range is a function which basically gives you a range of numbers. Whatever number that we write, starting and end number, it will give us those many numbers. So I'll say 1, 100, sorry, 101. So it creates numbers starting from 1 and going till 101. Okay, and I'll say print I. That's it. I'm not giving any condition, nothing. So if I run this, you will see the output where the numbers are getting printed from 1 to 100. So how this works? So when you say for I in range 1, 101, so this range 1, 101 basically creates a sequence of numbers from 1 to 100, basically n minus 1. Okay, if you write range 1, n, it creates numbers from 1 to n minus 1, so up to 100. Okay, so what happens when you write this? The first value I is going to hold is 1. Taking this value, I gets inside this for loop. It comes across the first line, which is print I. What is the value of I? 1. Right? Do we have any more lines of code to execute? No. Execution goes back here to the for loop. Now the next value I is going to take is 2 by itself. We are not writing any condition. Execution gets inside, comes across this print statement, prints the value of I at that point, which is 2. We don't have any more conditions. The execution goes back to this line. The next value I is going to take is 3. 3 is printed, 4 is printed, and so on till the time 100 is printed. When 100 is printed, does I have any more values to take? I has no, this variable I has no more values to take, right? So the execution stops. Understood? And that's how we have this number printed from 1 to 100. Getting it? Now, what I want you guys to do is, it's just a small example, small assignment that I want you to do it right now. I want you to I want you to write a code that prints a table of a number entered by a user. Okay, I want you to write a code that prints a table of a number entered by the user, and the output should be in terms of like this. So let's say the number entered by the user is 1, so the output should look like this: 1 into 1 is equals to 1, 1 into 2 is equals to 2, 1 into 3 equal to 3, and so on up to 1 into 10 is equals to 10. Okay, it should look something like this. Okay, understood the problem statement? You guys can start. And whenever you're done, make sure that you are sending your answer to host and panelist, not to everyone. Okay, because if you print it, others might see the solution and they won't try it anymore. Let me know whenever you're done. The Mogana is done. Can you share your code to host and panelist in the chat? What about others? Is it too hard? Okay. So yeah, let me know if everyone's done. I can see answer from Tamogna. What about others? Venkatesh, Satya, Anaida, Siddhant. It's okay if it's not done. We are going to do it anyways. Let me know if you need more time or we can continue. See, these are the exercises that will help you build your logic. Is Venkatesh there? Venkatesh and Siddhant? Okay. Yeah, Satya, I can see your answers as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the code now. So what is the first thing? What's the question? We are supposed to write a code that prints a table of a number entered by a user, right? So we'll take a number. This is how we take a number. Okay, so we will say int of input. We'll say enter a number, right? This will give the number to me. Next thing, so which loop do you want me to use? For loop or while loop? We can do it using both the loops. Let's use a for loop. So let's say for I in range of 1, 11, because I want numbers from 1 to 10, right? Now, what should I write here? Yes, so let's say value is equals to num. Num is basically the number that is entered by the user multiplied by, I'm using a star operator, which is used for multiplication in Python, multiplied by the value which I takes from 1 to 10. Yes or no? And finally, print the result one by one, right? So I'll say num, comma, I'll write x, comma again, I'll write I, comma again, I'll write a equal to sign, comma again, and finally I'll write val. So let's just see. So we have the output in terms of a table. Yes. So whenever you write multiple values inside print, yes, it is going to print it by default with a space in between. Okay. I'm not giving out spaces, but when you write it like this, when you give the elements inside a print function separated by comma, they appear like this in the output. Okay. Understood? Any doubts? So let's just now see what you guys have tried. So I'm first taking Tamogna's solution. Okay. So what? Enter a number, let's say 2. You have the output like this, right? No, Satya. So Satya is saying I was under an impression that just one table. So basically, you have to take the number from the user and print the table accordingly. Let's take Satya's solution. So Satya is using a while loop. Good. So if I run this, Yeah, I mean, you can change some numbers to 2 or 3. Let's take 5. So for 5, I have something like this. So only this program will only take care of, yes, numbers from, I mean, it will only take care of the first table, right? Yeah. Let's take Anaida's solution. So do you all know how to use this format and all? You guys are using format and all here. Do you know how to use it? Yeah. Anaida, is your solution working? There's a lot of syntax error. I'm giving up a number 4 here and it's printing 2 ka table. Typo. Yeah, let's see what's the typo. Nerd. Okay, nerd. Okay. Yeah, now it's fine. What is this format, Anaida? Why do we use it? Hmm? Yes. Why do we use this format? By the way, can you tell me what, to which data type this method belongs to? Yeah, so this, if you see, yeah, it belongs to strings. So let's just take this string, hit a dot, and if you hit enter, you will get to see a format option over here. So why do we use format? So if you don't know anything about a function, just use a shift tab. Just take your cursor over it and press shift tab. It will tell you what it does and how it does. Okay, so I'll show it to you. I'll take my cursor over here, shift tab, click on this plus sign. Okay, it will expand this window and it will tell you what functionality is offered by this function in this method. Okay, so wherever you write, wherever in your string, if you have this curly braces, yes, it will put that particular value to that respective location. So you see this first variable ka value will go to the first curly bracket, second variable ka value will go to the second bracket, curly bracket, and this third value, this third computation will go to the respective curly bracket. Okay. All right. So this is done. In the previous session, let's just increase the complexity. In the previous session, if you remember, when we covered dictionary, I told you this example. I'm sure you might have gone through it. We took a text and I told you that we will convert this text into something more meaningful, which can be used as data, right? So let's just say I want you to write a program that counts the number of words, okay, that counts the number of each word in a sentence. Okay, so basically this is a word count program, and the text goes like this. Man made money, money made man. Okay, so this is the text, and I want you to convert this text into a dictionary where the key would be the word and the value would be the number of time it appeared, that particular word appeared in this text. Okay, so first of all, tell me, have you been through the methods of dictionaries? Some of the methods we covered in the class itself, right? What were the functions? What were the methods that we covered in session 1? I think we saw items, then we saw keys, values. Yeah, items we saw, keys we saw, values we saw, right? I also asked you to go through all other methods. Yeah, tell me. Anyone? Are you guys trying or should I do it? You want to try or should I do it? Hello. Hello, am I audible? Yeah. My voice is breaking. Okay, let's just check the speed test. I think it's almost stable now. Yeah, check with your internet issues. Okay. So you want me to try or you're trying? Okay, so first let's begin with splitting this text. Okay, so we'll say, yes, you're right. The amount of words is equals to text dot split. What this does is it creates a list of all the words that we have inside this sentence. Okay. Now, next, what we need to do? We need to create a dictionary that will hold, yes, that will hold each of the unique, yes, each of the unique words we have inside this list. Okay. And at the same time, it should count the number of time it is appearing. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll create a dictionary count. Let's say count dictionary is equals to, we have created a blank, or let's say empty dictionary. Okay. Next, so we have created a dictionary. Next, what we'll do, for each word, we'll create a key pair, a key inside this dictionary. So for word in, or let's say for word in text dot split is nothing but this. Okay, this was just to show you what the split does. And when I write for word in text dot split, it will take each of these ones and repeat whatever we write inside this for loop. So next we are going to write is count dictionary. Okay, word is equals to 1. Okay, now if I run this, and print count dictionary, what happens here? Yes, what is happening? So let's just start with the first word. What is the first word? God, right? So word is equals to God. ठीक है, इनिशियली ये फॉर लूप जो लिखा है ना हमने यहाँ पे, the word, this variable takes God first. ये देखो text dot split ही किया है ना हमने, we are using text dot split. So the first keyword or first text, first string that this word text is God. Execution goes inside. So count dictionary empty tha, so it becomes count underscore dictionary God na is equals to 1. And therefore this is word here. So what is the first word? God. So you will have God colon 1 because we are assigning 1 to it. Next, execution goes here. What is the next word it takes? Made, right? So again the same thing, count dictionary made is equals to 1, right? So that's the reason why you have after God colon 1, you have made is colon 1. Okay. What is the next value word takes? What is the next value this word takes? Man, right? So you will have count dictionary man is equals to 1. So you have man colon 1. Okay, ये भी हो गया. Now word will take man again. ये देखो ना, ये लाइन लिख रहा हूं मैं यहाँ पे बेसिकली. ठीक है, this is what I'm writing over here. So count underscore dictionary man again equal to 1, right? So what happens is this man जो previous ये जो था ना, this gets replaced by new one. Okay, next made है MADE, right? So what happens, ये जो made है वो replace हो जाएगा ये वाले made से, but again the value is 1 because ये कोड के हिसाब से whenever you get one word, new word, just assign 1 to it. So that's the reason for each word, if you notice, there is always the value of 1 assigned to it. But is this value the number of time that particular word appeared in that sentence? ये देखो मेड कितने बार appear हुआ है? 1, 2, 3 times, right? So it should be 3 here. Similarly for man, 1, 2, 3. Man भी 3 times आना चाहिए. Money, how many times? 2 times. And mad should appear 1 time, right? But यहाँ पे 1 आ रहा है खाली. Are we taking care of this issue where the word is getting replaced by by the same word again and again? We are not taking care of that part, right? So we are supposed to write a if statement over here. So let me just clear this all drawings and update this code. So what I'll say is, I'll say if word not in count dictionary, ठीक है, अगर ये डिक्शनरी में अगर ये वर्ड नहीं है, जो भी नया वर्ड आ रहा है, then only create a new key value pair and assign 1 to it, right? Else, if the word already exists, see, this if is taking care of that word not being in the dictionary. Okay, if I am writing a else statement, that means the word is already existing in the dictionary. Yes, so in that case, I am supposed to add 1 to it. Add 1 to whatever value it is holding previously. Right? Whatever value that word was holding previously, just add 1 to it if it exists. Right? So if I run this and check, just see if we have the right output here. Maid appears 4 times, is it? Man is appearing 4 times. Okay. Let me just run this. Yeah. Oh, I think it is getting updated again and again. 1 second. So let me run this because empty dictionary चाहिए ना. 1 second. ये पूरे को मैं एक ही सेल में लिखता हूँ. Okay. Okay, now forget about this. That was just to show you the middle steps. Yes, is it fine now? Yes, is it fine? Have you understood this program? We first purposely wrote the program like this. We purposely wrote it like this just to understand the logic behind why we are writing the if else statement inside it. Okay, so ये if else statement का भी important समझ में आपको, why we wrote the if else statement inside this for loop? Yes, no, maybe. All right, so let me just update this again. Yeah, now it's perfect. Now ये जो हमने control flow देखा था, where's the control flow part? Yeah, Python, when we discussed this Python flow control, what did I tell you? A Python program, a typical Python program will have variable declaration. Yes, वेरिएबल डिक्लेरेशन हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है? यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे एक एम्प्टी डिक्शनरी डिक्लेरेशन हो रहा है, यहाँ पे एक स्ट्रिंग डिक्लेयर हो रहा है. Then I also told you that it will have conditional statements, loops, and function calls. Yes or no? So this is the loop. Yes, this entire part is a loop. Then it is also making use of conditional statement, and it is also making function calls here. You see this split. The split is nothing but method of string, right? If you have studied string when you went back home from the last session, the split is the method of string, right? So isn't it covering all the points? It is covering, right? Yes or no? Understood, everyone? Any doubts so far? No? Okay. Shall we take a break for 5 minutes? So it's 88:33. We'll come back by 8:40. If it's okay, we'll take more examples, few more examples, and then we'll start with functions. Okay. So 8:33 now, we'll start by 8:40. We'll resume by 8:40. Okay. Chalo. All right. So is everyone back? Yes. Just raise your hand if you're back. Okay. Only Anaya is back. Okay, we'll wait for 2 more minutes. All right. I hope you're back. Okay. Okay. So before we begin with functions, do you want to solve more examples? Yeah. Okay. See, you will find a lot of examples online also if you want to develop your logic. See, learning syntaxes and all is extremely easy, but it's the logic development that you need to really work on, and you will only be able to develop logic if you solve or try to solve couple of questions like this. Okay, so there are a lot of resources online that are available online. Like there is this programmis.com where you can find a lot of Python programs. If you want to solve it on your own, nothing like it. But what you can do is, if you feel less confident on coding, you can just go through the code, try to understand what the code does, and try to just understand how it's working. So if you remember, we understood how this code was working. We understood uh, how this program, how this table was getting printed, right? This one. And we also understood how this loop was working, right? So all you need to do is just in the similar fashion, just try to understand how the code is getting executed. Just try to solve some 10 odd different small programs like this. And I think that will help you gain a lot of confidence, and maybe you can later try to solve it on your own. I mean, I think that would uh, help you a lot. Logic building is something which cannot be taught. It's like if you are into music, let's say if you want to learn how to play guitar, even if I help you with how to hold a particular chord, I don't think you'll be able to just uh, know it just by taking a look at it. You have to understand the transition, how to move from one chord to another chord and all, right? So that requires practice. Okay, this is a skill-based subject. It is not a theoretical or any conventional subject. Okay, this is a different subject which requires practice to develop the logic. Otherwise, I don't think there's much of rocket science in understanding how to write a while condition or a for loop, right? It's very easy, but how you make use of it in a program is what matters. Okay, so let's take a program. Write just write it down. Uh, write a Python program. Write a Python program to find factorial of a number. Okay, you know factorial, right? So if I say what is 5 factorial, what you will do? You'll say 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, right? So what is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1? 120, right? So 120 should be answer. So write a Python program to find factorial of a number entered by a user. Okay, whatever number that I enter, the program should take care of it. Okay. Understood, everyone? Can you all write a code for it? It's a small code. Yes, please give it a try. Uh, Tamogna, I think this is. Have you solved it on your own or you're got this online? So early? I haven't taught you how to write a function. Can you do it? Yeah, do it without using function. Yes, done. Okay. So Tamogna has something for us. So this is the code that he has written. So let's understand. What is L here? Okay, let's enter 5. Okay, so 120. So if I enter -5 here, it prints 1. What is the factorial of negative number? I think the factorial of negative number does not exist. What is the factorial of 0? 1. Yes. So can you take care of this part also? So if someone enters negative number, you should take care of that part as well, right? Okay, so what should I write inside this? Some if-else conditions, right? So if n less than 0, I'll say print factorial of negative numbers does not exist. Okay, and in the else part, I'll write this. So this one int input, enter a number. Okay, so let's say -1. No. So what changes should I make here? Yes, what changes should I make here? Anyone? Should I write it here? Yes. It still says 1. Why? Yes, tell me. Tamogna, Anaida, Siddhant. Are you done writing your code? Tell me. What should I do here for negative numbers? For negative numbers, it should print factorial of negative number does not exist. Is it correct? Or should I write this for loop here in the else part? Yes. I'll say fact is equals to 1 here. I'll write this part inside this else. How about that? And let's just take, yes, will it work now? -10, it is still printing fact is equals to 1. Yeah, -10. Right. So for negative, which is saying factorial of negative numbers does not exist. Let's take some positive number this time. Let's take 5. It is printing 120. Correct? Yes. What about 0? If I enter 0, it says that factorial of negative number does not exist. So we will write one more condition. So how do we write it? So we'll say elif n equal to 0, print, what should I print? 1, right? Because factorial of 0 is 1. Yes or no? So we are writing two conditions here, and we are using a if else block, and in the else part we are writing, or we are using a loop. Okay, so let's just validate this code. So for 0, it is printing 1. For -1, it is printing factorial of negative number does not exist. And for a positive number, it is giving me the factorial of that number. Right? Let's take another question. I want you to write a program that checks, okay, whether a number is divisible by 7 or not. That checks if a number is divisible by 7 or not. write a program that checks if a number is divisible by 7 or not. Okay, so you take a number from the user, num is equals to int of input, enter a number, and this time I want the answer from Siddhant. This time I want the answer from Siddhant. Others, please refrain from pasting your outputs. So this is, yeah, what is this? Hmm? Am I missing anything here? Print. Where is the condition? Where is the heart of this program? Hmm? You're missing something, Satya, here. What is it that you're missing? What is the condition that one needs to write here? No, Satya, you're right. Yes, yes, Siddhant. What should I write here? If, yeah, tell me the condition. Is, do you know the answer? Do you know the solution or not? If n is equals to 7, see, the question is, do you know the solution or not? Hmm? No. Okay. So see, what we are supposed to do here is we are supposed to write a program. Pay attention. We are supposed to write a program to check if a number is divisible by 7 or not. So how to check if a number is divisible by 7? So I am guessing you have not, since you were not there in our last session, you haven't been through the arithmetic operator. Yes. So in arithmetic operator, there is this operator called this modulus. Okay, this is called as a modulus operator. What is this modulus operator? This modulus operator basically tells you if a number is divisible by another number or not. Okay, if it is divisible by that particular number, it will return you the, let's just take an example. So 27% or modulus 7. If I run this, it gives me 0. What is this 0? 0 is the remainder, right? Yes or no? When you divide 21 by 7, when you divide 21 by 7, 7 3s are 21, right? So what is the remainder? 0. So this is what you have in the output. Now, if you take any other, let's say 31, okay, I'm using a modulus operator 5. Okay, so what would be the output of this? Tell me, what would be the output of this? What would be the output of this? So in this case, it was giving us the remainder, right? So this modulus operator gives us the remainder. If I run this, what is the remainder? 1, right? So if I write 3 here and 5 here, yes, 5 6 are 30. What is the remainder? 1, right? So it gives us the remainder of this number when you divide it by this number. Getting it? Now, for a number to be divisible by any other number, so the remainder should be 0, right? Yes or no? So let's say if this is 30, so the remainder would be 0. That means this 30 is divisible by 5. Similarly, for 21, if I write 7 3s are 21, the remainder is 0. If I write 22, what would be the remainder? 1. So this 22 is not divisible by 7, right? So how to check if a number is divisible by a particular number or not? By using this modulus operator. So tell me, what should be the condition? Yes, here, if n% 7 equal to 0. Okay, so just you have just written one single equal to. How to see one single equal to? This equal to that you are writing, only one single equal to means that you are assigning this particular value to this entity, okay, which is not allowed here. ये देखो यहाँ पे आप, it is allowed because one is getting assigned to this variable called fact, right? Similarly here, whatever number that we are taking from the user, it is getting assigned to this n. Okay, all because of this assignment operator known as the equal to operator. Okay, but अगर हमको यही एक कंडीशन में यूज करना है तो we will use double equal to. This double equal to is a comparison operator. Yes, relational operator, comparison operator. It checks, it compares if this particular number is equal to this particular number or not. Okay, so whenever this n% 7 takes place, so for any number, if this is equal to 0, that means the number is divisible by 7, right? So if I run this and if I say enter 21, 10 is not divisible by, okay, this was taking n from here, I guess. No, this is num, this should be num, not n. Okay, can work like this also. So 21, So it says 21 is divisible by 7. If I run this again and enter 22, 22 is not divisible by 7 because the output of this, देखो n क्या है? N is 22. %7, 22% 7. What is the output? यहाँ पे देखा था हमने, देखो 22% 7 is 1. Is 1, ये जो यहाँ पे 1 आएगा, equal to 0? No, right? That means the execution will not get here. Execution will go to the else part. Hence, you are getting this as the output. Understood? Understood, Siddhant? When you go back home, please go through the recording of my previous session and please go through the operators. See, everything that we are doing today would be applicable in your case study. Okay, you are also missing out a lot on the list and dictionary part, which are most important for tomorrow's case study. ठीक है, अगर ये नहीं होगा, देखो लिस्ट और डिक्शनरी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है because list and dictionary are the basic of numpy pandas. Numpy pandas are something which we will study in Python for business analytics, which are useful for your data manipulation. आप सब business analysts बनने वाले हो, शायद data analyze करोगे कभी ना कभी तो, right? So numpy and pandas, चलो numpy भी छोड़ दो, pandas would be very much required. And these lists and dictionaries are the basis of that library. ठीक है? Tamogna is saying, will we also cover scikit? No, that comes under machine learning part. So hopefully that might get covered in the machine learning session if you have any. I think you guys have machine learning with Excel, I guess, not with Python. Right? Just check. Okay. So Siddhant, just go through the previous session recordings and please do not skip this part. It is very helpful. It would be helpful for you in your career. Okay? I'm guessing you are not from coding background. All right. So let's start with the function. Okay. Now, in Python or any programming language for that matter, so there are two types of functions. Okay. First is inbuilt function. And second is user defined function. ये होता क्या है? देखो, inbuilt function are all the functions that are provided to you by Python. अभी ये देख रहे हो आप, ये input, ये print, ये भी तो functions ही है, right? ये range, what are these? These are all functions itself. Yes or no? So ये functions, these are all provided to you by Python itself. Yes or no? Are you writing down these functions? ये function आपको लिखना पड़ रहा है क्या? You are directly using it, right? So ऐसे काफी सारे functions आपको दिए गए हैं Python में, which are commonly used. Okay, so those functions are called as inbuilt functions. Getting it? Now, based on your functionality or your project, you might want to define your own function that can be used again and again in your project. That would be only applicable to your project only. So such functions are called as user defined function. Satya is saying, is there a way in Python where we can write own print like function which prints a statement? You can do that, but again you'll have to get into you need to understand the IO part, input and output part. Yeah, but again, which Tamogna is also saying, but why do you want to do that since print is already there? Okay, so just curious. Okay. You can see the source code also if you want, the source code behind what goes inside the print function. Okay. So you need to understand the OS part really well for that. You need to understand operating system really well. Okay, kernel, all the layers, kernel layer, application layer, all those things. If you understand that really well, I think you can write these kind of functions. Okay. So what are user defined functions? Functions which can be created by a user, which allows to make use of a certain lines of code again and again without having he or she to write it again and again. Okay, understood? So how to write your own function? That's the main part. So let's take a look at the syntax. Now see, ये जो print function है ना, in the background, ये जो print function आप देखते हो, one second. Before I get into syntax, let's discuss more. ये जो print function आप देख रहे हो, इसके पीछे अगर आप देखोगे, if you go back to the source code of it, there are lots and lots of lines of code that is being written. Okay. Now, अब मुझे एक बात बताओ, हमेशा whenever you want to print something, is it feasible to write those many lines of code again and again? If you want to use that particular functionality of printing something onto the console, it is not at all feasible, right? So that's the reason functions are created, to make use of certain line of code wherever and whenever you want in your program, without having to write them again and again. Just write it once, wrap it inside a function, and use that function as many times you want. Okay. So how to define a function? How to create your own function? We create a function using the keyword def. DEF. Def stands for definition. Okay. Then followed by the function name. You can give any name to your function, followed by parenthesis. अगर आपने notice किया होगा, all the functions that we have seen so far, they are all followed by parenthesis. देखो, ये int भी देखोगे आप, parenthesis है. Input देखोगे, वो भी parenthesis है. All the functions that you see, they all have parenthesis. Okay. So parenthesis का क्या use है वो हम देखेंगे. Followed by colon. Okay, followed by colon. Hit enter and start writing your code. Code line 2, code line 3, and so on. Okay, that's it. That's it. There's one more thing. There is this keyword called return. Okay, there is this keyword called return. अब ये return भी देखो एक function ही है. ठीक है? What is the use of this return? When to use it? When not to use it? It's something that we will see. Okay, this is optional, by the way. Let me write it here. Optional. Okay, but most of the time it is written. Okay, this is a comment. ठीक है? ये जो return keyword है, ये return जो function है, ये last line में it is optional. But in most of the cases in real time, all the functions return some value. Okay. So let's just create a function. Let's say I want to calculate the area of triangle. Okay. I want to write a program that finds area of triangle. Okay. Now I don't want you to write a function. So how do you write a simple area of triangle? So area of triangle, the formula is half into base into height, right? So you will take base is equals to some value, height is equals to some value, and you will say area of triangle is equals to 0.5, which is half, into base into height, right? Let's take some value 2 and let's take 10 here, right? And you will say print area of triangle. Okay. Right? Now let's say you are writing a function or writing a program. In real time आपका जो program रहेगा ना वो 800, 900, 1000 लाइन के codes होता है, ठीक है? And your code will exist in multiple Python files in real time. ठीक है? Just to give you an example, I don't know if I have shown you some code or not. So there is this project that I'm working on. I'll just show you something. And show you the number of lines of code that we write. Yeah. Is my screen visible? Yes, is my screen visible? Hello. Another thing can't hear. Voice is breaking. Okay. It's like actually I've opened a very heavy application, Visual Code Studio. I don't know if you've heard about it. Is it still breaking? Okay. Give me a second. Yeah. See, the thing is, this is a very heavy application. On top of that, there's a lot of code that is written over here. So I think that's the reason why it's breaking. One second. Let's see if it's an internet problem. This is not an internet problem. This is to do with the system. So I have a 8 GB system, and there are lots of applications running. I'll have to close this. But so if you see, is it still breaking? Is it clear now? Okay. Now, if you see here, so there are multiple Python files. This is a main file. This is a utility file. Again, these are all functions that these 3 files, if you see, sorry, these 4 files, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is just a copy. Forget about it. These 3 files, they are all full of functions. If you see, they are all functions. Okay? They are all functions. Now, what is this project about? This project is about something. What we do here is we basically analyze a lot of PDFs, okay, and we recommend content to a user. Okay, so see, the client that I'm working for is an account-based marketing client. Okay, now do you know what account-based marketing is? Do you know what account-based marketing is? No. Okay. I'll not get into the detail of it. I'll just tell you. I'll just give a brief about it. It's like lead generation. Okay. So the lead generation में क्या होता है? You cold call a lot of people and then you convert that into a lead, right? Yes or no? इतना तो पता होगा, right? You might be getting a lot of calls from this HDFC and this LIC and all these things. Spam calls, exactly, right? So spam calls में क्या होता है? They will unnecessarily call a lot of people. They will not care if a particular client or a particular customer is a potential customer or not. So account-based marketing में क्या होता है? They only target potential customers. So let's say I have a product which is only used by engineers. So I will only contact engineers who use it. I won't be calling chartered accountants or civil engineers for that. Understood? I will only contact a target audience. Getting it? So LinkedIn का क्या होता है ना? LinkedIn आपको अगर ऐसा लग रहा होगा कि LinkedIn नौकरी के लिए है, it's fine, नौकरी के लिए तो होता ही है, but LinkedIn mostly sells all your data. It exposes. I mean, it is also used for marketing, by the way. So LinkedIn marketing अगर आप देखोगे, it's a huge different world altogether. So वहाँ पे क्या होता है? So now I'll get to the this project. What this project is about. So we usually write PDFs describing about how that particular product is going to solve your problem. And we send that, not we, the marketing guys, the account marketing guys, they will send that PDF to a particular account of a particular target audience. So these target audience, what they will do is they will read, they will go through the PDF and they will make the informed decision based on their understanding, whatever it is. So जो PDF में लिखने के लिए जो content चाहिए होता है, तो वो that is something that this code is about. We analyzed a lot of PDFs and based on the kind of content that should go inside a PDF so that it creates an impact on a particular client to use that product. So this is what the project is all about. So I hope you understood what the project is. So if you see, we have written a lot of functions here. ये देखो functions दिख रहे हैं आपको? देखो सब में return दिखेगा आपको. ऐसा एक भी function नहीं है where we haven't used the return keyword. And ये loops वगैरह आप देख रहे होंगे, if else वगैरह आप देख रहे होंगे, है ना? तो अगर आपको if you are in this impression that ये सब use नहीं होगा, use होना है, सब use होने वाला है. ठीक है? So these are three files. These are three files, and take a look at the amount of code we have written. ठीक है? 600, 700, 800. चलो, this file has 962 line of code. ठीक है, इसमें से 100 भी अगर आप comments पकड़ोगे तो somewhere around 800 lines of code. This file has what? More than 500 lines of code, and this file has around 500 lines of code. ठीक है? And these files basically they are full of functions that we will be using. Okay, and if you notice this file, this main.py file, it hardly has around 70 lines of code, right? So this file is using the functions from all these files. Okay, this is what happens in real time. Okay, understood? Understood everyone? थोड़ा थोड़ा कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? थोड़ा सा ठीक है. आई एम नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग इट टू अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग, बट हाउ द कोड इज बीइंग यूज्ड एटलीस्ट उतना समझ में आ रहा है. Okay, so yeah, so this is what happens in real time. uh, so a particular block of code is used a lot of times in our entire project. So it is not feasible to write अगर अभी आपने देखा होगा. So the code 800 900 800 ऐसा एवरेज था, राइट? वो 3 फाइल अगर आप देखे होंगे उसमें 800 लाइंस ऑफ कोड ऑन एन एवरेज जा रहा है. ठीक है, उसमें भी some functions are, a lot of functions are getting repeated again and again. So do you think is it feasible to write certain line of code again and again? No, right? Otherwise the codes, what the size would go around 10,000 5,000 lines of code, right? So that's the reason why we write functions, because in real time ये इतना छोटा प्रोग्राम नहीं होता आपका. ठीक है, there's lots and lots of lines of code that goes into a program. So that's the reason why we define functions. So let's say I want to define a function that calculates the area of triangle. Okay, मेरे प्रोग्राम में एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल मुझे बार बार फाइंड करना है. तो इज इट फिजिबल टू राइट एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल का कोड अगेन एंड अगेन? नो. सिंपली create a function called area of triangle. ठीक है. Now what are the two things that area of triangle requires? This area of triangle requires two things, base and height. ये जो हम लोग यहाँ पे लिख रहे हैं inside this parenthesis, they are called arguments. ठीक है, और they are also called as parameters. These are nothing but the things that this function will require to calculate inside it. ठीक है, so let's say I will say area is equals to base into height. देखो यहाँ पे मैं कहीं ऐसे बेस लिख रहा हूँ क्या? बेस इज इक्वल्स टू some value, height is equals to some value. No, this base and height will be taken from the program where this is being utilized. ठीक है, मैं एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ अभी और डिटेल में, डोंट वरी. सो एंड इन द फाइनल लाइन आई विल राइट रिटर्न एरिया. ठीक है, तो ये फंक्शन मैंने लिख दिया है, रन कर दिया है. नाउ व्हेनेवर आई वांट टू यूज दिस फंक्शन, दिस इज कॉल्ड function definition. Okay, and this is called as a program. Let's say एक program लिख रहा हूँ मैं, which is basically program का नाम, let's give a name to this program called geometry. Okay, geometry है. Here we are calculating area of parallelogram, different sort of parallelogram. ठीक है, यहाँ पे you might have to use this area of triangle again and again because parallelogram में कई बार काफी triangles भी होते हैं, right? So let's say I have a program called geometry. ठीक है, and here I want to find area of triangle. ठीक है, area. This is a variable and this is the function. Function यहाँ पे define किया है मैंने. What are the two things that gets inside it? Base and height, right? So let's say you're taking b as base and h as height. These are comments, okay, just for let you understand. So let's take these two values from user. यहाँ पे I'll write b comma h. Now pay attention, guys. Whenever I write, so this becomes your calling program. Calling program basically means ऐसा program where we are calling the defined function. ठीक है, function definition तो ये रहा, and this becomes my calling program. This calling program might be huge. Okay, it would be very huge. यहाँ पे this function is getting called. ठीक है, now definition में base is the first argument. So this b यहाँ पे as base ही जाने वाला है, and this h will go as height only. ये आप a और b भी लिख सकते हो, जरूरी नहीं कि h और b ही लिखना है. So you will have to write a here and c here. So जो ये a है, it will be treated as base, and the c will be treated as height. Okay, then this is 0.5. Understood? So if I run this, I'll enter base as 10. I will enter height as 5. Okay. So क्या होता है ना, whenever ये देखो a क्या हो गया, 10 हो गया. Yes. c क्या हो गया, 5 हो गया. तो ये क्या होगा, a और c यहां से the execution every time this area of triangle function is called, execution will go to this function taking a and c का value which is 10 and 5. ठीक है, execution क्या करेगा, 10 और 5 ये value यहाँ पे लेके जाएगा ये कोड ब्लॉक में, and it will assign that particular value to that particular parameter. So ये a का value जो 10 है base को assign होगा, c का value which is 5 will get assigned to height. So ये calculation हो जाएगा 0.5 into 10 into what is the height, 5. इसका calculation 25, right? So area में 25 store होगा, और जो area value hold कर रहा है which is 25 will get returned here. ठीक है, ये जो है ना, ये return होगा यहाँ पे, ये दो वैल्यूज लेके जाएगा यहाँ पे, कोड रन होगा उन वैल्यूज पे और रिटर्न करेगा वापस वो इस कॉलिंग प्रोग्राम के पास. नाउ इफ यू टेक अ लुक एट दिस, क्या आ रहा है, कोशिश करो, देखो क्या बोल रहा है, एरिया इज नॉट डिफाइंड. क्यों, एरिया तो लिखा है हमने यहाँ पे. व्हाई इज एरिया नॉट गेटिंग डिफाइंड? That is because area is being defined inside a function definition, and it only runs till the time this program is getting executed. ठीक है, understood? Yes, so this area is the local variable of this function only. Now if you print instead of return, सिर्फ एरिया अगर मैं लिखता हूं यहाँ पे, इंस्टेड ऑफ रिटर्न अगर मैं सिर्फ एरिया लिखता हूं, तो व्हाट हैपेंस, देखो 10 और 5 जो कि हमने लास्ट टाइम यूज किया था, तो क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे, ये 10 और 5 यहां से ये वैल्यूज लेके गया. 1 सेकेंड. सो ये 10, 5, these values are taken over here. 0.5 into 10 into 5 is calculated, which is 25. Area is equals to 25 हो गया. Yes, and the next line it comes across is print 25, print area. So इसीलिए यहाँ पे 25 print हो रहा है. लेकिन is it returning this value to this program which where it is supposed to be used? लेट्स से ये एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल मैं कैलकुलेट कर रहा हूँ एरिया ऑफ पैरेललोग्राम फाइंड आउट करने के लिए। ठीक है, एरिया ऑफ पैरेललोग्राम लेट्स से ऐसे है, ऐसे कुछ तो है, राइट। सो ये एक ट्रायंगल हो गया, ये एक ट्रायंगल हो गया, और ये एक रेक्टेंगल हो गया। ये सर नो, तो दो बार मैं एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल को कॉल करूंगा, एक यहाँ के लिए, एक यहाँ के लिए, और लेट्स से यहाँ पे मैं एरिया ऑफ रेक्टेंगल कैलकुलेट करके इन सबको एडिशन करूंगा, x प्लस वाई प्लस जेड को, एंड फाइनली यू विल हैव सम value here, let's say p, this becomes your area of parallelogram, right? yes or no? तो मुझे ये एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल जो फाइंड कर रहा हूँ, उसके लिए मुझे ये यहाँ से रिटर्न भी तो चाहिए ना, ये वैल्यू जो एरिया कैलकुलेट हो रहा है। yes or no? सिर्फ प्रिंट करके क्या होने वाला है, मुझे वापस भी तो चाहिए। so I will write a return keyword over here instead of print. if I don't write it, see what happens. अगर मैं यहाँ पे फिर से अगर मैं ये ट्राई एरिया प्रिंट करना चाहूँ, तो इट प्रिंट्स नथिंग। इज इट प्रिंटिंग एनीथिंग? देखो मैं प्रिंट भी लिख देता हूँ यहाँ पे, देखो इट इज प्रिंटिंग नन। व्हाई? बिकॉज नथिंग इज गेटिंग रिटर्न फ्रॉम दिस फंक्शन, नो। तो यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं आ रहा है, कुछ नहीं आ रहा है मतलब यहाँ पे नन है, ठीक है। दिस इज व्हाट इट मीन्स। सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू राइट a return keyword whenever you want to use this value in your calling program. Understood everyone? Understood? Yes, any doubts? I think time's up, right? Any doubts so far? समझ में आया आज का सेशन? समझ में आया आपको? Is there anything that you want me to repeat tomorrow? Tomorrow we have another session, tomorrow morning. I intend to cover the case study which is similar in lines with what should be expected. Hello? Yeah, any doubts? सिद्धांत, वेंकटेश, वेंकटेश आपने कुछ बोला नहीं यार ज्यादा इस सेशन में। अच्छा, ही लेफ्ट ऑलरेडी, ओके। या सो सिद्धांत, इफ पॉसिबल, आई नो इट्स हार्ड, टाइम नहीं मिलेगा, लेकिन इफ पॉसिबल प्लीज, ठीक है, ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगेगा, इट वोंट टेक मच टाइम। लिस्ट, डिक्शनरी एंड ऑपरेटर्स, दैट्स इट। बाकी आई थिंक यू अंडरस्टूड ना, if else statement, the conditional statement and the loops. Yeah, thanks Satya, thank you so much. If you can write that down in the feedback form, I think that would be more helpful for me. ठीक है, any doubts? If you have any doubts, do let me know tomorrow. Tomorrow is our final session. यार वेंकटेश को भी बता दो if he is in your group. Yeah. ठीक है, this is very basic, not that tough. क्योंकि आगे जो है वो काफी टफ होने वाला है, इतना भी टफ नहीं है बट है। this is a building block for the Python for Business Analytics sessions. All right. Yeah, any more doubts? अगर नहीं है तो we can wrap it up for today. You want me to unmute you? You want to discuss anything? Just raise your hand if you want to talk. Thank you Tamugna. Good night. Thank you Ananda. Thank you everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.